Golf. It's a funny game, isn't it? One minute you think you're on top of the world, and it just brings you crashing down the very next hole. You go from making a birdie to shooting a snowman. But what is it about golf that brings us back? It's the challenge. Starting out took me 9 months to break 100. Each week was seeing progress, watching my scores come from 120 down to 99, and then eventually shooting a 96, feeling really great about myself, and then shooting a 91, the all-time low for me of my best round, and then not really coming close to that again. So every time I go out there, I know I have what it takes. I know I have that ability. There's no question about it. But the 90s feel different to the hundreds. Seeing that constant progress week in, week out versus now plateauing in the 90s, where two blow up holes can turn that into not shooting in the 90s, but barely saving 100 and hoping that you don't go to 105. So, where does this all break down? Let's talk about some of the obvious ones. A top tee shot sliced off right into a penalty area, whether it went out of bounds into the water or whatever. Or you can be as close to the green as you like, and a chip that you just chunked and it just went 2 feet in front of you, and now you have to chip it again, and now that bogey is now turned into a snowman real quick. So those are the things that I have to work on, and I think in the future, the main things we need to figure out is, where are we gaining strokes and where are we losing strokes? Where are we making progress? And when things are going wrong, what we can do to help and try and fix that on the fly. Because adapting to these things as they happen, like that, it can be as easy as a simple slow your swing down. Or it could be as hard as, I don't know what it is. And I think I don't know what it is that I'm doing that's causing this to happen is probably the worst thought you can have out there. Because those 3 words, I don't know, well, if you don't know, how are you going to fix it? Now, I'm not talking about, playing a major. I'm not talking about playing a tournament. I'm not even talking about your Sunday scramble week. I'm just talking about, just in general, you versus you, because that's what it is. It's you versus you. I have this one friend who's been playing since he was 5. He can shoot in the low 80s on his worst day. Why is that? Because he has the tools to know what it is he needs to do to fix whatever is going on with whatever he has going on. I've been playing this for about a year and a half. And in that year and a half, I've figured out some things. And sometimes I have no clue what it is that I'm doing. And that rolls into the realm of golfing partners and buddies and whatever you want to call them out there, when you start getting the unsolicited advice. Me personally, I don't care. You can tell me what you see I'm doing wrong. It might help. But I know for others, and leave this in the comments if you think that unsolicited advice should be kept to yourself or you should share it. But I've seen that others kind of like either brush you off or start to throw a little resentment your way, even though you're on the same level as them. But is it wrong for you to tell them what they're doing wrong that you see? Or is it, best for you just to shut the F up? these are things that I think as a new golfer, you have to combat because um, I remember a few weeks ago, I was out there and Dave, that was uh, my partner for the day, and he saw what I was doing and he said to me, "Hey, um, why don't you try this real quick, this little drill, and get yourself back on track?" So he saw that I was, you know, going down the slippery slope of not figuring out what I was doing wrong. I was repeating every shot was the same issue. And he corrected me. And I was very thankful for that. And, it's great when you play golf with people like that, especially if you're open to criticism and you want to get better. And if somebody sees that you're doing something wrong and they point it out, don't get mad at them. Just say thank you. Whether you're going to take their advice or you're just going to ignore it, just say thank you. It's the decent thing to do. It makes them feel good, one. And two, what difference does it make? You're already not doing what you're supposed to do. So if somebody tells you, hey, try this, and you do it and it works, well, that's a win-win in my book. So a couple factors. Mental game. We all know that. Breaking 90 is more mental because it's not about making birdies. It's not about even making a lot of pars. It's actually about accepting bogeys. And why did I say that? Accepting bogeys. Because if you play, let's put this in perspective, if you played bogey golf, and assuming you could make a bogey on every single hole, that's 90. Right? 45 and 45, that's 90. Now, if you throw in 2 pars, well, guess what? We just broke 90. The question is, how do we get there? And that's where I'm at. And I'm sure a lot of you who are in the same boat as me trying to break 90, we've watched many YouTube videos on how to do it with different lessons. We've done everything. We practice at the range. We practice putting, chipping, drives, different tee shots, simulated different scenarios. But yet when we get out on the golf course, that just goes just like that. And the biggest issue for people like me, and I'm sure a lot like you, that we typically struggle with starting out good. And what I mean by starting out good, I mean like shooting a par the first hole to me is like a death sentence to the round. Comment below, but for me, I found every time I start out the round with if I'm lucky, a birdie or a par, the round is just destined to fail because right out the gate, I'm not in that mindset of I'm accepting bogeys. I've given myself a false thought process of like, this is where I'm at now. I can get pars and I'm going to go for the birdies instead of just accepting where I'm at with my game and moving on to getting there eventually. And in the process of getting those bogeys, I might get birdie opportunities. I remember a few weeks ago, I drove the green, first time in my life, and I had a opportunity for an eagle putt. It was about 13 to 15 feet away on a slope in height, but it was on the slope, so it's always going to go down. There was no question about that. And I went for the putt, and it lipped right at the very end. And I think I've been the most mad at ever scoring a birdie in my life. And, talk about first world problems and everything like that, like a tap in birdie. And I was mad because I didn't accept that I might not get that eagle putt. And if I translate that into a realistic scenario, because that was like a one-off or like, something that's not going to happen a lot. But if I put that down to a situation where like I got on the green in 3, I have a par opportunity, and I go for it, and then I have a tap in bogey. Um, that's nothing to be mad at, and that's the mindset I need to get myself in. Is okay, I'm accepting bogeys. Those are my pars. From now on, bogeys are my pars. And then anything less than that, that is, thank you very much. That's a blessing sent down. The question is where do we stop trying to score doubles? When does a double become detrimental to trying to break 90? So a few things we need to work on, just trying to take our time, uh, you know, stop going for the pin. I think that is where I need to probably start getting my mindset too of like instead of attacking the pin, because I'm not Tiger Woods, I'm not Scotty Scheffler, I'm not Bryson DeChambeau. I don't have the that guarantee that I'm gonna be anywhere close to that pin when I'm setting up and I'm trying to go for the pin. So let's just go for the middle of the green. If I'm short, I'm short. A chip in a putt, that's better than um, shanking it right or pulling it left. So these are the little things that we need to get into. And I think I need to start sitting back and enjoying nature. Though this time of year in Florida, it's kind of hot. We're now in the heat indexes of the hundreds. Humidity is really high. So these things are now going to be factors in the game, keeping cool, keeping hydrated, very important out there. And also having some snacks, some complex sugars, at least some sugar of some sort, because you don't want to be out there and your sugar drops and then you feel drowsy and, you know, just your game goes to crap. So these are the things we probably need to work on. What are the things that I want to do going forward? Obviously, I would love to uh, be hitting greens a lot more in regulations. And I think if I take a realistic factor into this, like if I can hit 60% or more fairways in regulation, hitting the same thing for greens, 60% of that as well, that saves me a lot of work. So if I can start managing to get to that level, I think I can get there. Comment below if you have broken 90. What was the one thing you changed that was that eureka moment that changed your game to where you could break 90, but not just do it once on a regular basis? I would love to hear what you guys have to say on that. Just because I'm interested in hearing the different stories that you guys have. Um, a buddy of mine, Giles, he's now always aiming to break 80, which is a big contrast. He's trying to break 80 every time we go out there, and I'm trying to break 90. It's 10 strokes different, but the mindset didn't change. And being out there, I feel like being out there, it helps. Just having somebody who is one better than me and accepting I'm not playing against them, I'm playing against myself, but seeing them make different decisions instead of, trying to go for the green in 2, maybe just laying up and taking a different approach to that hole. I remember 2 weeks ago when we played, we took 2 different approaches to a par 4. I took a 5-iron and got it to about 200. That's where I was aiming, around that 185 to 200. That's my range for my 5-iron. And that put the ball right where I wanted to. Couldn't ask for better than that, to be honest. And he took a driver, and we both made the green regulation. My second shot was pin high and about, I don't know, 10 to 15 feet away. However, his second shot ended up being a little short, and he had like a 30-foot putt, and you know, we were just joking about the different approach to end up. I think we both pawed that one, but the different approach that we both took from the tee shot to where we planned on putting the ball and how we ended up with that same result, which is crazy. But it's always great to see different mindsets, different levels in game. Like for me, 80 or less right now is a little bit of a challenge. So I try to keep it 100 out. That's been my goal, to keep it 100 out, because at least I know I'm not going to overshoot the green, because that's going to be more of a headache, I think, than being short. At least if I'm short, a little chip up, or you can even putt off some of these fairways into the green, especially this time of year. We're in like little drought season, so the ground's a little harder. It's not as um, soft, so it's not going to get eaten up too much. So these things they just happen, and looking at it just makes you think like, okay, well, this guy, he's shooting in the 70s now. I'm aiming to shoot down in the 80s, and our approach is the same. We just have different goalposts almost, because he's now looking at a par as a par, and I'm looking at that as a bogey. So going forward, limiting the triple bogeys and double bogeys are going to be massive to my endeavor, if you will. And then, it's just interesting because I have some friends that they play and their round's not going good for them, and they say, okay, I had enough. I'm not playing anymore. I'm gonna stop at 9, and I really wish they would play, because I really enjoy playing. I get it. Some people get too frustrated and they're just not going to enjoy themselves and put themselves in a bad mood. But I'm a little selfish. I want everybody to play and want to have a good time. Um, and I feel also when we go out with our friends versus just like, uh, you know, I play in this league. It's mainly retirees, and that's helped me tremendously. Mindsets on, instead of blasting ball, actually just taking a nice smooth swing. But when I play with them at the league, I have a different mentality versus when I play with friends. When I depend on the friends, like if it's the buddies that I mess around with all the time, joke about and stuff, that you want to beat each other, you want to outdrive each other, you want to, be closest to the pin, you want to be, and that's all good. That is really all good. But when you play a little bit more sensible with somebody who's trying to play sensible golf, it really manifests your game as well. And I feel like, at least in my experience, um, I don't know about you guys, leave a comment below if this applies, but I feel like sometimes when you go out with somebody who's playing a certain way, whether that swing is the craziest swing you've ever seen, and then it's your turn to get over the golf ball, and you're just like, you one confused because you're like, I don't know how my brain's processing this anymore, because I watched that guy swing and that just didn't make sense in my brain. And then you go and do that, well, not do what they did, but you go and go for your shot, and then you end up thinning it or fatting it because you're so caught up in that thought that, like, you know, wow, they did that. Like, how did they get the ball to go where they got the ball to go? And you're thinking, oh my goodness, like, and then you get there, you have the ball, you're thinking too much, and you chunk. So it's a matter of like, don't pay attention to the others. Like you were in school and your parents told you, don't pay attention to what others do. Just concentrate on yourself and try and get the best grade you can get. It kind of applies too, I guess. So, um, but we can go on and on of what hypothetically could change the game. Obviously, it hasn't changed the game for the last year. Because if I think this week was the first time I ever broke 100 last year. So it's been a year since I did that. And, you know, obviously all these hypotheticals are great. But until I break 90, these hypotheticals are just that. They're just hypotheticals. They're just what ifs or maybes that could get me there. Um, and I'm going to start taking you guys out on the golf course with me, playing a hole with me. And you tell me what you see that I'm doing wrong. Because trust me, I know my swing isn't the best. I know I do certain things wrong. Uh, so it's not going to hurt my feelings. I really just love to hear from you guys. I'd love for you guys to, join me on this adventure of seeing what's out there as far as my golf game and my progress. Um, and also on my Instagram, I have it up there. You can actually follow my handicap on the, what do you call it? GHIN, the handicap index. You can see my progress. The lowest I've gotten it to was 24.7. Don't forget the 0.7. But my goal for that also, I mean, handicaps don't really mean a lot. It just says, your best games equate to this, right? Over the last, what's it, 20 rounds, best 8. So it doesn't really say much, but my goal is to get that down to 20, at least by the end of the year. So we got a lot of goals going on. We got breaking 90, getting that down, handicap down to 20, and we can make new goals as we go. But until then, we're going to try and break 90, and I hope to see you guys on my next video. And if you would like to, and you stayed this long, I appreciate you. Subscribe to my channel, like the video, share the video, and if there's anything you guys like to comment in the bottom, please do so. Until then, I hope you guys stay safe. See you on the next one.